when you're eating at restaurants or you're ordering out all the time, studies have shown you consume more calories and you are more likely to consume unhealthy options. Whereas if you're preparing something at home, you know what's going into it. This research has shown that you eat less and, you have a little bit more control of your food.
Welcome to the Spartan Up podcast with Joe De Sena, founder and CEO of Spartan Race.
We are talking about overcoming obstacles. The same way we teach people to get over obstacles on the course, we will teach you here on the Spartan Up podcast to get over obstacles in your mind.
Dr. Naidoo, nutritional psychologist and author of This Is Your Brain on Food, joins Joe to talk about common food traps and solutions.
Do you want to be ready for anything? Download Joe's free ebook at spartan.com/ready-for-anything. This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by FitAid. Race dirty, recover clean with FitAid Sports Recovery Drink. Visit lifeaidbevco.com and enter the code SPARTAN30 at checkout to get 30% off their full line of functional lifestyle beverage blends and Go powder sticks.
Joe De Sena here, founder and CEO of Spartan and the Spartan Up podcast, where we attempt to rip, 100 million people off the couch. But a lot of people are stuck on the couch eating chips. However, we got Dr. Uma here, and she's going to tell us why we are addicted to chips and the food-brain connection. That's your expertise?
The gut-brain connection, and yes, the food-mood connection is what I do in nutritional psychiatry, Joe.
I grew up in an Italian neighborhood, and food was the topic of every single discussion. It was either cement, food, or people going to jail. Raviolis, cannolis, pizza. And my question, I guess, is when that happens, like it happened for most of us, right? It's such an important part of living. I don't even know if I want the raviolis or I want the meatballs so much as it's psychologically somewhere I'm attracted to. Is that the case?
It's part of our food history. It's part of how we grow up culturally around food and family. That's very similar for me around Indian food, which is healthy sometimes, but not always. Then that conversation, my mom would always joke that we'd be planning the next meal while finishing the first one, like what are you making for dinner, or that type of thing. And I think that happens in a lot of families, but we carry that forward with us. I think that what science and now what we understand a little bit better, Joe, is that there are certain foods that we need to be eating in moderation for our better. We know about our physical health, but now we're making that connection to our mental well-being. And so not that we have to give up those foods, but we just have to be mindful. And we have to, have more of a holistic plan in place. Sort of we're eating, we're also exercising, we're trying to hydrate well, we are, spending time outdoors, we're doing a lot of different things. It's not just how we eat, but that's what I focus on in terms of my book. And it's about fine-tuning the foods we eat.
This morning, so my routine is I work out early in the morning, and I try not to eat till 9 a.m. And when I come into the office in Boston, I was on my way to the office, I start to get hungry because it's been 4 hours since I woke up. I worked out, I took my cold shower, and there's not necessarily the food I should be eating at my fingertips. I want to, believe it or not, I want a salad. But I can't really get a salad, and I got to get in the office, and I see this bakery over there, and I'm like, I don't really want anything in the bakery, but I'm hungry. Do I sound like a wimp, or what am I doing wrong?
Not at all. You sound like most of us traveling to work, either with a morning routine or realizing there's a bagel shop or a donut store on the way to work. You're not going to find that healthy salad because most fast food places won't offer you that in the form you wanted. So that's where I think just mindful eating and planning a little bit does help us because we all are busy. You shared offline how busy you and your family are, and I think that that's the case for all of us. So you'd have to find something you like. Like one of my favorite things is chia pudding because I can make 7 chia puddings on a Sunday. Small amounts, add my berries on the go, add my nuts on the go, take it in a little container, all, because it's set up, and go with it. And what I find is on days that I do that, I'm more satiated and I'm not arriving at work starving and looking for more snacks or whatever it is that may not be available. So some of it is planning, realizing that, the fast food restaurants are not going to help us with our nutrition. They have a certain purpose. They want to sell their foods. Their foods are hyper palatable, so we get used to them. You want one donut, then you go on the second donut because you're still hungry. It goes through your system in a second. So how do we find nutritious options? How do we plan for that? Or do you have a fridge at the office where you make some things on a Monday and leave them in the office, so when you get there, you have some healthy options in the fridge waiting for you, as well as some healthy snacks that are around you, so that it isn't the chips or the candy or something like that.
No, I like that idea, and it's so obvious, and people have been doing it for years. I'm sorry, my email is making noise. It makes noise during every podcast. I don't know if you could hear it or not. And it just occurred to me why I don't deal with this. When I'm not doing a podcast, my computer makes no noise, none. As soon as I'm doing a podcast, it starts pinging and making all this crazy noise. So I apologize. But if we plan in advance when we're not hungry, so last night when I wasn't hungry, had I organized my breakfast for this morning when I am hungry, I probably would have had a better meal in front of me, right? It's when we're hungry, we make bad decisions.
Exactly. It's like if you try going to the supermarket when you're hungry, you're going to find yourself picking up the stuff that you work out, you focus on health. Those things are not healthy, but you're hungry, so you're going to pick them up, and then there's regret when you get home, or you eat them on the way, because you're hungry. So making some breakfast ahead. If you consume eggs, one of my recipes in chapter 11 of my book is like mini frittatas. So instead of the big frittata, make them in a cupcake pan, and you can actually freeze them in those nice little reusable silicone bags they have now. And you take one, by the time you get to work, you pop it in the microwave and fill it with things like veggies and spinach, so that it's actually a good quality eggs, like omega-3 eggs that are pastured, and then filled with veggies. That's another good option. And I think that when you have that on hand, you panic less, right? Because we don't want to be hungry. And when we are, our good judgment goes out the window.
So the first thing I'm going to take away from this is planning. You need in your fridge a bunch of stuff that is planned way ahead of time when you're not starving, because your judgment gets cloudy when you're hungry. Mm-hmm. And number two, I'm hearing from you, small portions. Something to satiate you quickly and not overindulge.
And not overindulge. Some very interesting work done by the Blue Zone study talked about 9 factors that helped people. And one of them is not eating until you're overly full, like eating to 80-85% satiety. I'm not much of a calorie counter, Joe, but I think it's a quality of foods. So planning, little portions and little snacks around that are healthy. And here's another one I like. I have a little lunch bag that folds flat and freezes. So when I was in the office all the time, pop that up in the morning, put in my salad that I made the night before, dressing on the side, or have some olive oil and, salt and pepper, or even a squeeze of lemon. That's the easiest. And you're good to go. And it's going to keep cool till you get there. So say someone like yourself really craves that healthy salad in the morning. You have it, so it's a little bit of that thinking ahead so that we avoid those hungry moments.
Avoid the hungry moments. I like that. What are traps? The not having food in front of you and being hungry is a trap, right? Where you're going to fail. What are other things that you found, because you're diving into the psychology of the human being when it comes to food, that we should be aware of? So
let's go back to that sugary donut. You didn't say that you were eating one. That was my example. But where we live, there's Dunkin' Donuts at every corner. And so, and by the way, I love their coffee. So, but here's the thing, when you're making those less healthy choices, we know from the metabolism sugar, and we know from dopamine reward pathways that science has shown that sugar works on the same reward pathways as things like street drugs, for example, cocaine. So say you go into wherever you go and you get a donut, you eat the donut and you think, I'm glad I got that. I'm not hungry anymore. 10 minutes later, as you're driving or wherever you are, you're going to feel hungry, because this is a simple carbohydrate. It breaks down very quickly, spikes your blood sugar, which is never good for our brain. Releases insulin, and compare that to either that healthy salad or that fiber-filled, protein-rich chia pudding. Or, if you eat frittata, the mini frittatas, which are more satiating, full of veggies and protein, that you're going to eat some healthy fats. And it's a very different feeling because one of the things that happens is your blood sugar's on an even keel. You feel satiated, your mind is at ease because you're not hungry, looking for, where else can I get a snack? Same thing happens with people who might have, say, a bagel for breakfast. The issue becomes that it is metabolized in your body pretty fast, and then you end up hungry. So you might want 2 bagels, or you kind of go down a little bit of a slippery slope. Am I saying never eat a bagel? Absolutely not. Am I saying never eat a donut? Not at all. But know and be mindful of when you're consuming those foods, which we know are not the greatest for your brain because of these things, and especially because our metabolic health is now linked to our mental health. So blood sugar, for example, Alzheimer's is now being called type 3 diabetes.
Repeat that last sentence. Alzheimer's is now being called or linked. You said linked?
It's linked and being called. A lot of clinicians are calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because of the fact that there's our metabolic health, our glycemic control, all of that is actually playing into these conditions. So, so for example, athletes, eat a certain way, but their bodies are engineered, or they're working towards burning off those calories. For the average person, myself, a physician going into the office or working virtually, I'm exercising, but I may not be on that rigorous schedule. So our bodies are also all different, and we've got to be therefore mindful of the choices we make. But I would also argue that even for athletes who are burning off those calories, having sugary drinks or having, foods with a ton of added and refined sugars may not be the best either.
All right, so we got a couple of things to unpack here. One is we make poor decisions when we're hungry. We're now aware of that, right? Number 2 is when we make that poor decision, it actually sets us down a roller coaster ride of making more bad decisions because the body is so addicted to these sugary, basically to junk food, right?
Exactly, because junk food is largely, stuff that are simple carbs and that break down to sugar. So
and then I'm sure you have a couple of more traps to get into, but one that jumps out at me. My mom, by the way, was into everything she was not a psychologist, although maybe she was, without a diploma, because she was so into yoga, meditation, being a vegan in a time when it didn't exist. So she was really diving in and studying this. And one of the things she talked about was not eating too close to bed, not eating too close to waking up in the morning. You got thoughts there?
We'll be right back to this conversation, but first, a little bit from today's sponsor, FitAid. FitAid is a clean sports recovery drink. Race dirty, recover clean. You've heard us say it before. FitAid is 45 calories, certified non-GMO tested, vegan, paleo-friendly, certified gluten-free, kosher, and never contains any artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, or sodium. Even the zero sugar option, it's keto-friendly and has only 5 calories, and it's naturally sweetened with monk fruit and stevia. And then there's FitAid's Recovery Blend. It has glutamine, glucosamine, turmeric, BCAAs, omega-3s, CoQ10, a full B complex, and electrolytes. It's perfect for after your workout, your hike, your bike ride, or your race. Can you imagine drinking a plain old soda when you could have this? FitAid is a product of LifeAid, the functional beverage company, and they're an official partner of our Spartan Race series. Listen, each ice-cold can of FitAid, it contains ingredients to help your body recover, and it never contains any artificial flavors or sweeteners. So visit lifeaidbevco.com, enter the code Spartan30 at checkout, and save 30%, plus you get fast, free shipping. Okay, back to the interview.
And one of the things she talked about was not eating too close to bed, not eating too close to waking up in the morning. You got thoughts there?
absolutely. So definitely we know that eating late at night has an impact on our metabolism, our blood sugar, our sleep, so many things. So, eating earlier, having your body rest and digest earlier in the evening so that by the time you get to bed, you're much of your food is digested and your body's kind of slowing down and getting ready to rest. that is important. There are things many people use intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating these days. If they go speaking to their physician about it and they have a good plan in place, there's another reason for sort of eating your meal early in the evening. In terms of waking up, I usually ask people to pay attention to their body intelligence. And what I mean by that is some people wake up and they have a cup of coffee and they don't feel hungry until noon. And that's where, if their physician has cleared it, maybe they can try a fasting window that works for them. So other people wake up and they're ravenous. And those are the individuals that I want to make sure they have plans in place so that they have healthy food available to them. Because if not, the same thing happens. We wake up ravenous. I usually ask people, though, to have a glass of water and, just kind of ease into the day a little bit instead of going to the fridge and grabbing something, because I don't necessarily agree with your mom on that one. That's not the best way either. But somewhere in between, but paying attention to body intelligence, especially in the morning.
What other traps could we fall into? Is who we hang out with when we eat, or the setting, the location where we eat? Is that a trap potentially?
Your setting is important. So if you know the outline of your job, whether it's virtual, hybrid, or whatever it is, maybe you're back in the office, pay attention to that. Sit down and eat. Be where your feet are, as that expression goes. Have the plate in front of you. Pay attention to it, because you will probably then chew your food. You'll probably pay attention, savor it a little bit, even if you only have a half hour for lunch. These things become important. They affect our digestion. The gut microbes are extremely important. So what we eat and feeding them with fiber becomes important. So yes, mindfulness, mindful eating, choices that you make become important, and eating with family. If you are with a family, that's a great time to connect. Shut up all the devices, shut up the television for a half hour, an hour, and have some family time. Check in with each other. These things are important in our lives, and I think sometimes we are so rushed to get to the next thing that we forget those moments. So I firmly believe in that. If you can make it work for you. And I think other traps that we fall into is, real feeling that we can't cook. So, I came to cooking later in life, Joe, because like yourself, I came from a large family. And many of them were these South Asian cooks, my grandmother, my mom, my aunts, my older cousins. So I never cooked. But I was always around food, and they were always making delicious foods. So I had to come to cooking later in life. And for me, it became something that was really a great space for me to relax and enjoy. Not everyone likes cooking. I get that. But here's the thing. When you're eating at restaurants or you're ordering out all the time, studies have shown you consume more calories and you are more likely to consume unhealthy options. Whereas if you're preparing something at home, you know what's going into it. Somehow this research has shown that you eat less and, you have a little bit more control of your food. So more nights than not, if you can prepare things at home or learn a few simple recipes, I think it's worth it.
As I listened to you, I thought maybe we should set up a, some type of offsite where we get a bunch of experts like yourself to just talk about all these things we've learned. Like you just said something so interesting to me. My mother probably said 5,000 times I didn't listen to, which is, look, when we train, when we go into a gym, or we're mindful, we pay attention to what we're doing. Otherwise, we're not going to get the most out of that workout. When we are in a classroom setting with a famous professor, we're mindful, we're listening. Why is it that when we eat, it's just like a mess? We're busy, we're running around, we're standing up, we're taking phone calls, and we're not mindful when we eat. I never, sometimes they say it's not your parents that finally get through to you, it's somebody else. You finally got through to me after all these years. But you're right. You got to pay attention, right, when you're eating.
Here's where nutrition and nutritional psychiatry fills a niche, Joe, because, we talked to our doctors about, type 2 diabetes, weight gain during COVID, hypertension in the family, a grandmother who might have Alzheimer's, something like that. But we're not talking about our brain in connection to our food. And that's a huge gap. We now are understanding and believing that nutrition is a lifestyle factor. It's not just, eating is elsewhere. It's part of our health journey. It's not external to that health journey. And it's so pivotal, because things like, type 2 diabetes in the early stages can be reversed by how you eat, as well as exercise, as well as all of the other things you're doing. But food is a huge factor. The thinking around cognitive disorders, even Alzheimer's, is that, many of us walking around at any stage of life, we might have some early changes in our brain that are not active, they're not symptomatic. So right now we should be eating better, because those things can actually be halted, or the inflammation can be reversed by how we eat. What we've tended to do in medicine is catch the diagnosis when the symptoms come out, which is kind of late. And so even conditions like Alzheimer's, we're rethinking how should we be advising people about cognition, how to eat for cognition, how to eat for memory. We really should be doing it right now for every single one, from us to our kids to those who are older than us.
Walk somebody through a typical day. If they want the perfect day, according to the doctor, the great doctor here, perfect day of eating, how would it go? What time would they wake up? How would they eat?
Sure. So first and foremost, everyone is different, and a lot of my work in the clinic that I've run for this time has been around personalized medicine, Joe. So let's just say everyone is going to be different. However, some good things are in place. Some of the stuff you've mentioned: planning, have a breakfast ready that you can pick up. Get up with an intention. Sort of, don't just jump out of bed. I mean, I try on more days than not to just ease into my day. Whether you like gratitudes, whether you journal, whether you watch the sunrise, whether you do a yoga sun salutation, whatever it is, ease into your day. Because I think that it helps your sense of focus and it lowers anxiety. When we kind of jump out of bed and we run for the coffee, I think our heart rate, there's just a different physiological effect on the body. So I think understanding that so many people are experiencing anxiety and stress right now, it's a good way to think about it. Drink a glass of water. If you're a coffee drinker, have your coffee. If you're a tea drinker, have your tea, whatever it is. And then decide, how you're feeling. Check in with yourself. Am I hungry? Do I want my breakfast now? Do I need to, get the kids off to school? Do I need to do a few tasks before that? Or what do I have in front of me? And have something that you can get for breakfast instead of getting up and having a task list and having to make breakfast. So have a breakfast ready. Have a few healthy snacks that you pack with you. I love, a couple tablespoons of nuts. I love carrying a little quarter cup of blueberries, fresh or frozen, a square of dark chocolate, extra dark, 80% or more. All of these are great brain foods, satiating snacks that you can put in that lunch bag of yours. Lunch, I like a really large salad. Why? Because firstly, I like salad like you. Secondly, it's super healthy for me. The greens are rich in folate. Low folate is associated with depression, so I love those leafy greens. Fiber, they're also fiber rich. Add in the colors of the veggies, and then choose your protein of choice. If you're plant-based, and maybe it's organic, non-GMO tofu. If you eat chicken, maybe it's, chicken breast. Whatever it is that goes with your salad. And I like a squeeze of lemon. Make it easy on yourself. Don't worry about the store-bought salad dressing, which has preservatives and a ton of sugar and sodium. Just have a squeeze of lemon, salt and pepper, and it's ready. And, you can add fiber by adding beans or nuts and seeds and legumes and things like that to bulk up that salad. So that not only is it taking you a while to chew it, it forces you to be somewhat mindful, and you're going to end up satiated. You're going to end up not feeling like you need another thing to eat. Then in the afternoon, I like a cup of green tea. It helps my focus. It kind of gives me a little bit of lift in the afternoon because I don't drink coffee after about 12 noon. If I feel like a piece of fruit, I might have a small clementine or, have the berries in the afternoon. Everything, I don't so much count calories, but I pay attention to portion sizes. Evening, for me, because I like to cook, it's sort of my playtime, my open canvas, but I have things prepped like cauliflower steaks. Other members of my family eat chicken and other meat, so I have those prepped so that I can prepare them. But some of the standards I always have are, I include spices in whatever I'm cooking because I have multiple brain healthy spices. I use healthy fats like avocado oil or extra virgin olive oil. I always have an abundance of veggies in my meal because those are filling. They good. The fiber feeds your gut. Good for your gut is good for your brain. And then I mix it up. So spices, lots of veggies, and then proteins of my choice, and using healthy fats, so that it's something I can put together, and different members of the family can then eat together.
I love it. I love it. How do people find your book? How do people find you?
So I'm on social media at DRUMANAIDOO, which is at Dr. Uma Naidoo. I also have a website, umanaidoomd.com. I am releasing my first course, a virtual course online in January, and it's on nutritional psychiatry. I'm there to really show you principles and dive deeper than the book. So join me there if you're interested, and I'd love to connect. So thank you.
You're awesome. Thank you, Dr. Uma.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Spartan Up. Do you want to be ready for anything? Download Joe's free ebook at spartan.com/readyforanything. Do you know someone who needs a little help staying motivated, staying informed, getting or staying mentally and physically resilient? We're here 3 days every week with a mix of content to help you stay strong, from mindset to nutrition and everything in between. Listen every Tuesday to hear Joe De Sena, Spartan Race founder and CEO. And the rest of the week, join us for DECA, Endurance, and Classic episodes. See you next time. This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by FitAid. Race dirty, recover clean with FitAid Sports Recovery Drink. Visit lifeaidbevco.com and enter the code SPARTAN30 at checkout to get 30% off their full line of functional lifestyle beverage blends and Go powder sticks.